Hello, everybody. Welcome to another TICPodcast. It's been a while, and I just wanted to say, hey, how's it going? It is October. It is full swing. It is the last week of the month, and Thursday is the spooky day. But I had my little Halloween celebration on Sunday last night, and I just thought this is kind of like a very relaxed, chill, nonchalant podcast, but I thought I would talk about just in general some spooky memories. So, get some Halloween candy, get some snacks, get some soda, get some beer, and take a trip with me down the trick or treat lane. Because I kind of want to just, think about like what made Halloween Halloween. And I'll start with some movies. So I saw The Mummy last night, and not the original, or not the one with Brendan Fraser. I love that movie. I have that on DVD as well. But I saw the Boris Karloff version. I think it came out in 1932, and it was unique. It's a very slow movie, and it doesn't really do what you would expect it to do. It doesn't have like a lot of kills in it. Um, it's really more of an atmospheric kind of movie, and it does play up the Egyptian theme a lot. There's a lot of really cool sets in Egypt and stuff. But I will say this: the vibe of the Mummy is really cool, and it's more like an atmosphere instead of like straight up horror. I saw that last night. I'd give it a 3 out of 5. It's not the best, but it's definitely enjoyable. And Boris Karloff is like killing it in that movie. No pun intended. Um, I try to watch horror movies. Specifically, I try to watch them in October. When it gets around the fall, that's when I say, okay, it's time for scary movies, and I'm only going to watch scary movies, and I've never been able to do it. Like, I've always said, that I've always wanted to do nothing but horror for like a month. And I'm a big fan of like Cinemassacre by James Rolfe and, Monster Madness and everything. But, you know, I don't think I've ever done like a full on month of watching movies and stuff. I saw a couple movies this season. I saw Train to Busan, which was amazing. One of my favorite zombie movies I've ever seen. I just saw it, and I rewatched Saw. That was sweet. Saw is honestly like, I used to think that movie wasn't very good. And upon rewatching it, I'm like, you know what? No, this is actually really like it holds up. I think Saw was like a slasher movie that was like an escape room, and I thought that was really a unique twist. It was like escape rooms are real big now, but like that's what the movie was about. It was one big escape room. I liked it a lot, but back in like the '90s. Nothing in the world was scarier than Chucky. If Chucky was around, you were screaming and shitting your pants. That was just how it was. I don't know why, but, Chucky the doll scared the ever living shit out of me. And everybody seems to be traumatized by different slasher villains. Like, some people are like really afraid of Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street. And I have a friend who loves Ghostface, like wants to marry Ghostface. And like there's certain slashers that people just either have like some kind of like affection for or are absolutely terrified of. And Chucky I was absolutely terrified of. It's kind of cool how like slashers are kind of like rock stars, But that was like the VHS days. That was the days where you got in trouble if you watch horror movies. Like you had to sneak them into your your parents' basement or something like that and watch it on a VCR. The first time I saw Friday the 13th, I saw it at a motel at like 3 in the morning, and it was like this dingy Motel 6, and it was like all the kills all at once at the end of the movie, and it was so freaking cool. I was digging it. It was on TV. It's like late at night and 3 in the morning, so they were able to show all the blood and everything. And honestly, like the TV era and the VHS era is probably why horror movies did so well, is because it was like the forbidden fruit. It was like you couldn't air that. You couldn't put that on TV unless you like had certain channels, and it was like this low budget kind of like shock thing. The 80s and early 90s were like the golden age of horror movies. One of my favorites that I saw out of that era was a Fox exclusive called The Fly 2. The Fly 2, in my opinion, is scarier and better than the original with Jeff Goldblum. For a few reasons. It's darker. It's way darker. And it's a lot more like personal. It's like the story of this boy who like gets manipulated by being basically a test tube baby. And it's honestly like one of the best mad science movies. Like, there's different genres of horror. There's like, your zombie and vampire movies. This one is like a secret laboratory mad science movie. One movie that I really wanted to see back in the day that was like a mad science movie was called Reanimator. Everybody says that movie is like 10 out of 10 amazing. And like you have to see it. And I've never read H.P. Lovecraft, but apparently it's like based on H.P. Lovecraft and the whole like eldritch horror and everything. Definitely on my wish list to see. And then of course we got to talk about like the all-time greats. A while ago, like in 2011 or 2010, I got really into John Carpenter, and The Thing was like one of the best movies I've ever seen. I feel like John Carpenter is one of the best directors I've ever seen do any movie. He can do funny stuff. He can do horror stuff. He can do action. He's one of the all-time best directors I've seen. And something about Kurt Russell and John Carpenter, when they get in the room together, something ignites. But The Thing is one of the best horror movies. The Shining by Stanley Kubrick is one of the best horror movies. Halloween by John Carpenter, 1978, I think is the best ever made. It kind of reinvented the slasher genre and like made it like a big thing. I think there's definitely like precursors to the slasher genre, like Psycho from Alfred Hitchcock, but Halloween really made it mainstream. I think like you can't really talk about slasher movies without talking about Halloween. That was the one that started really the genre, although Texas Chainsaw Massacre was before Halloween. And then let's talk about like trick-or-treating. So, I have a niece and nephew, and they went trunk-or-treating. And it just didn't look that fun. Like, when it was in the 90s, trick-or-treating was supposed to be like this big event. And you went out, and it was kind of like almost a heist mission. You were set out to get as much candy as possible, and you were set out to kind of get these spooky thrills. And I lived in Los Angeles at the time, and my mom took me to the rich people's places. I don't know where it was. I think it was Beverly Hills, but there was this one house that was like a mansion with like this big freaking garden. and it was towered with like people popping in and out of coffins, and there was like an electric chair tied to a hearse, and there were actors, and at the very top you got king size Hershey bars. And I'm like, man, like I had it all back then. That was not something I see anymore. Like I feel like the event of trick or treating has been kind of softened, and now we just have like these car meetups, and it just looks so boring. Like, people just line up and take candy, and it's very boring. One thing I liked about trick or treating is that, you didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know what kind of candy you were going to get. And, it was exciting, Um, and Party City and other Halloween outlets, there was a lot more emphasis on like stores and retail and like good Halloween costumes. I work in retail, and uh, there's no more Halloween stuff. It's not even Halloween yet, and we are completely full of Christmas stuff. And slowly, bit by bit, the scary costumes went away faster and faster, even if they weren't sold out. And all we were left with was like Disney decorations and Spider-Man costumes. And I think that's kind of the thing. It's like, 90s had a lot of horror. You had werewolves, aliens, Dracula, Mummy, you had zombies, you had Ghostface, you had so much variety of like scary costumes, ninjas, like there was a nonstop like montage of spooky themed costumes. And now I just feel like, costumes are. I went to a Halloween store. I went to Spirit about 2.5 weeks ago. And, it was like a big outlet store, but they didn't have a whole lot. I wanted to get a Dracula mask, like just a simple mask with the slick back hair and the Bela Lugosi face, the white makeup and everything. And they didn't have it. And it's like, dude, that's like the most basic Halloween costume I can think of. Like, if you were to like guess a Halloween character, Dracula is in my mind like the top one. And they had like some capes, but they didn't have like the whole getup. Like I had to like go in 3 different sections to find all the pieces. And I was gonna originally be a vampire for Halloween, but I just didn't end up doing it. And it's like what I did see a lot of was like superhero costumes. There's a lot of Spider-Man. There was a lot of Captain America. There was, I don't know, like just boring stuff. I felt like the Halloween characters now are all pop culture references, and even the ones that I thought were kind of contemporary, like The Walking Dead, are now like 10 years old. So it's like, to me, Halloween is changing every year. It's not even like what you think is cool anymore. I definitely feel like the main costume I wanted to be as a kid was Mortal Kombat Ninja. I wanted to be Sub-Zero more than anything because, to this day, I'm still a huge Mortal Kombat 2 fan. And, there's just nothing, there's no ninja game that is as ninja as Mortal Kombat, in my opinion. There's been games with ninjas, but nothing comes close to Scorpion and Sub-Zero. And, you got to go online now to buy all the good stuff. You got to go on Etsy. You got to go on eBay to buy all the cool suits. I got a Nightwing costume that was like $40, and it was just a bodysuit, and it was great. It was a really good costume, but you're never going to find that anywhere at like a Spirit or a Party City. You got to go on these like, specific eBay stores to get like specific costumes that are handcrafted. And on the verge of on the subject of costumes and everything, this year I'm either going to dress up as a gangster or a greaser, and I can't decide which one I'm going to do. But I have like a suit and I have a hat and I also have like a full-on greaser get up because, in my opinion, I am a greaser. But yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm gonna wear the day of. It depends on what mood I'm in. But Halloween is definitely like it's always catered to children. I think I think that it was like this holiday that we got to dress up as a villain. Everything was always exciting when you got to be the bad guy, and that was what I loved about costumes. Because I was a very mild mannered kid, and I didn't get to be like very dark and sinister. But when Halloween came around, I was always like covered in blood, and I loved it. Halloween now is more centered around superheroes and I don't know, like whatever popular thing like Bluey or something. It sort of feels like the danger of like the feeling of dressing up as a villain, the feeling of dressing up as a bad guy, or like the horror and like the spookiness. It all feels like watered down these days, and I just kind of feel like what it used to be like was a lot more like, I don't know. I mean, there's the whole Christian movement saying that Halloween is satanic and everything, but it's a fun holiday. And it really feels like they're trying to get away from that. They're trying to get away from all the blood. They're trying to get away from all the horror. And, you know, hopefully it'll come back, but it just sort of feels like all we're getting is like the same old, same old. And occasionally we'll get a Terrifier movie. But I don't know. I just kind of feel like Halloween is sort of dying. So that was kind of my random spiel. And, I hope you didn't mind my memory lane of, Halloween memories. So stay spooky out there, guys. Haunt some houses and trick or treat. I'll see you later.